In the past, Ares often spent his nights listening to a streamer known as Apollo. Her voice was his only solace at that time. Back then, her streams were small and intimate, sometimes consisting of only the two of them talking. Every night, she would end her stream by telling her listeners that she loved them, a simple phrase that stayed deeply etched in Ares' heart. As the new school year begins, a nervous teacher struggles through an important announcement that Furin Girls Academy has merged with Furin Boys, turning the school into a co-ed institution. Before the teacher can fully explain, Ares abruptly interrupts, clearly dissatisfied with the fumbling introduction. He confidently introduces himself to the class, boldly declaring that he will one day lead Japan and therefore cannot tolerate imperfection. He ends his introduction with a respectful bow, but quickly shocks everyone by admitting that he is only 99% perfect. To become complete, he claims he needs all the girls in the class to tell him that they love him. During the break, the boys swarm Ares, angrily accusing him of ruining their reputation and making the girls wary of them. Ares sees no problem with his actions, insisting that they should be grateful. A blonde girl soon approaches him, openly flirting after assuming he comes from a wealthy family. Ares steps toward her, causing her to retreat in surprise at his boldness. After listening carefully to her voice, he bluntly tells her that it lacks impact. Noticing the time, Ares abruptly announces that he needs to use the bathroom, explaining that he relieves himself at the same time every day. As he leaves, the girls whisper about how strange he is, while the boys explain that Ares is searching for a girl whom he only recognizes by voice. Ares overhears them in the hallway, carefully listening to the girls' voices, but none of them match the one he is seeking. As he walks on, he receives a message from his mother. Once notifications like these filled him with excitement, as they usually meant Apollo's stream had started. To Ares' shock, he suddenly hears Rika softly whisper, "I love you," right behind him, teasingly reminding him that break time is almost over. She also points out that he still hasn't gone to the toilet. Flustered, Ares hurriedly rushes off to take care of his business. During lunch, Ares remains distracted, constantly replaying Rika's voice in his head. His thoughts are abruptly interrupted when a female voice echoes through the school intercom. The boys around him are immediately thrilled that the announcements are being handled by a girl. Ares, however, feels something else entirely. Without warning, he declares that he suddenly has something important to do and rushes out. He sprints through the hallways toward where he believes the broadcast room is, his heart racing at the possibility that the voice belongs to Apollo. Based on their past conversations, he knows she should be around the same age as him and lives in the same prefecture. He also remembers her dream of attending an all-girls high school with a view of the ocean. To increase his chances of meeting her, Ares had deliberately enrolled in Furin Boys, knowing that the school would eventually become co-ed by the time they reached high school. When he finally reaches the broadcast room, Ares swings the door open. Inside, he finds 4 girls staring at him in confusion. They quickly scold him for interrupting their broadcast, and Rika immediately tells Nene to mute the mic. As the girls continue reprimanding him, Ares listens closely and notices that each of them sounds like Apollo in a different way. Rika shares a similar tone, Shinobu has the same intonation and pronunciation, Iko's manner of speaking reminds him of Apollo's whispery streams, and Nene carries the same angry voice. Ares feels a deep sense of disappointment. He had believed he could recognize Apollo instantly by her voice alone, yet now he can't determine which of them she might be. The girls then ask if he plans on going pro someday. Confused, Ares listens as they explain that they joined the broadcasting club to pursue careers using their voices. Shinobu shares her dream of becoming an anchor, prompting the others to talk about their own ambitions. Their words stir another memory where Apollo once spoke of a similar dream. Ares' thoughts are cut short when Shinobu casually admits that she already knows about him, thanks to his outrageous self-introduction. But Nene kicks him and angrily calls him a creep for making such an outrageous request. Ares explains himself, insisting that he is searching for someone important. Iko asks if that person might be her as she shows him her VTuber model and admits that her shyness is part of her persona. Rika quickly jumps in to tease Ares, suggesting that he actually came all this way just to see her. To everyone's surprise, Ares calmly admits that he did, and then bluntly asks all 4 girls if any of them is Apollo. The girls stare at him in confusion, with some even wondering aloud if he's talking about the chocolate brand. Ares looks at them in disbelief. He's convinced they're lying. He reasons that Apollo may not want to reveal herself and that her disappearance from streaming is likely connected to that decision. Deciding not to push further for now, Ares turns to leave, convincing himself that he'll have plenty of chances to investigate them another day. However, the girls tell him not to come back since only club members are allowed inside the broadcast room. Ares turns back and boldly declares that he is a professional when it comes to voice work, giving him every right to join the broadcasting club. He then points out that a major flaw in their operation is their outdated equipment. Iko is the first to agree with him, admitting that the school equipment is old, but there's little they can do about it. Aries then proposes that he'll provide them with brand new equipment if they allow him to join the club. The room falls silent until Shinobu finally admits that it sounds like a good deal. Rika also agrees, casually adding that she finds Aries' voice pleasant. The compliment catches him off guard. Thanking them, Aries confidently promises to lead the club to greatness as their president, only for Nene to angrily snap back that Rika is already their president. The girls then wonder how they can repay him for the equipment. Rika smiles and says she has the perfect idea. She tells Aries to face the other direction. When he does, she and the other girls suddenly surround him with voices, all announcing that they love him. Overwhelmed and deeply embarrassed, Aries hastily declares that he needs to finish his lunch and promptly rushes out of the room. Outside, Aries is certain that one of the girls is Apollo. His thoughts drift back to her final stream. He had been the only listener when she ended the broadcast. She told everyone she loved them. Summoning his courage, Aries had responded, telling her that he loved her too. The memory makes him cringe, and he scolds himself for confessing to a girl he barely knew. Part of his urgency to find Apollo is due to that confession, since he needs it deleted. Aries is confident that he will become someone important in the future, and he cannot risk something so embarrassing being used against him. By the end of the day, the club members celebrate Aries' acceptance. They force him into odd party clothes, and although he is clearly being teased, Aries does his best to appear thankful. He almost snaps when Nene refers to him as their errand boy, but Shinobu explains that it was the only way their advisor would approve his membership. Swallowing his pride, he agrees to go along with it and promises to do his best as the club's errand boy. The following day, Aries reviews his notes and decides that he will carefully observe each of the girls. When he enters the club room, only Shinobu is there, adjusting her script for the after-school broadcast. She explains that she tends to flub her lines, so she marks difficult words. She gestures for him to stay quiet as the broadcast begins. Aries watches closely, recalling that Shinobu wants to become a news anchor. She is also the student council vice president and a model honor student. As Shinobu delivers the announcements, Aries is impressed by how clear her voice is. However, the moment she reaches the words she marked in her script, she immediately mispronounces them. It happens every time, so noticeably that Aries can't ignore it. Without thinking, he scolds her, forgetting the microphone is still on. Back in the classroom, Aries' male classmates warn him not to correct Shinobu. They insist that her habit of messing up her lines is part of her charm. Deciding it's pointless to argue, Aries leaves them behind as they continue gushing over her. Mentally, he lowers Shinobu on his list of possible Apollo candidates. Soon after, Aries overhears Nene animatedly talking about Lilikos, a comic he clearly remembers Apollo mentioning. Nene is well known for her bright, energetic personality and is also popular as an avid cosplayer. When a classmate hands her a comic and asks her to voice Lily's lines, Nene happily agrees. As she begins reading aloud, her performance is shockingly accurate, and even Aries finds himself impressed. However, she suddenly stumbles over a word. Unfortunately, she goes on to misread several more lines, unintentionally changing the story. Hearing this, Aries feels disappointed. When Nene finally notices him watching, she loudly calls him out for staring. Aries attempts to explain himself, but the people around her already view him unfavorably, so he quietly removes himself from the situation. Sitting alone on a set of steps, Aries reflects on why identifying Apollo has been so difficult. He wonders if listening to her through streams has distorted his perception of her real voice. While he's convinced that Apollo must be one of the girls in the broadcasting club, he realizes that voice alone isn't enough. He needs to match what he knows about Apollo's personality with each of them. His thoughts are interrupted when Iko suddenly speaks right beside him, startling him so that he falls forward. She quickly apologizes, explaining that she can't see well with her colored contacts. Aries recalls that Iko is an aspiring VTuber. Iko explains that she uses this spot to do short streams during break. She sets up her tablet, and Aries leans closer to observe. Iko energetically greets her viewers, reads a few live comments, and then quickly ends the stream. Aries is surprised by how short it was, but she explains that break time streams are meant to be brief. Despite this, Aries feels another wave of disappointment and excuses himself. Wandering aimlessly through the school, his frustration grows. To him, it feels like all the club members are far too relaxed. His thoughts return to Apollo, how seriously she spoke about wanting to use her voice professionally. He remembers promising Apollo that he would learn everything he could about voice work so he could support her. The two of them had sworn to work toward the professional world together. Now, Aries wonders if he's the only one who ever meant that promise. Soon, Shinobu's voice echoes through the school for announcements. Elsewhere, Iko spots Rika doing nothing and scolds her for slacking off. Rika apologizes, then wonders aloud what Aries really thinks of them. Suddenly, Aries' voice cuts through the intercom. Alarmed, the girls rush toward the broadcast room. When they arrive, they find Aries openly calling out the broadcasting club for being lax and telling the students that they shouldn't be treated like princesses. If Apollo is among them, she needs to remember their promise. Since he doesn't know which girl she is, he decides that he'll make sure all of their dreams come true. He declares over the broadcast that he will work tirelessly to guide the broadcasting club toward becoming true professionals. The moment he finishes, he's promptly kicked out of the room so the girls can take over the broadcast. His phone notifies him that Apollo is live. Aries immediately tunes in. Apollo greets him warmly, admitting that she's happy he's listening and that she was always grateful to him, even back when she barely had any viewers. She apologizes, saying she still can't reveal herself yet. Then she confesses that whenever she told her listeners that she loved them, she was always talking about him. Aries listens in silence, staring at the broadcast room door. As the girls continue their broadcast, Aries checks his phone. Apollo's message confirms his suspicion that she is part of the broadcasting club. He considers going back into the room, but ultimately decides against it. Instead, he leaves, determined to find her and fulfill their promise. The next morning, Aries gathers the girls at the beach for an early jog, explaining that running is excellent vocal training. Shinobu notices a seagull flying past with an earbud caught in its beak. Aries recognizes it as his own and suddenly sprints off in reverse to catch it, astonishing the girls with how fast he moves even while running backward. After the jog, the girls are left shocked by the fact that Aries isn't even out of breath. Nene scolds him for acting like their personal coach. Calmly, Aries removes his sunglasses and tells her that he is the perfect person to turn them into professionals. Nene is ready to argue again, but Shinobu cuts in, admitting that they really have been slacking off. Shinobu adds that they had already talked about exercising together, so this training works out well for everyone. Rika then steps forward and directly asks Aries if they can trust him with their future. Aries looks at her carefully before answering that he's serious about wanting all of them to succeed. Nene challenges him to prove it. Aries agrees, but first suggests they stop for breakfast. At that, the girls suddenly grow uneasy and try to head back toward the club room. When Aries asks why they're running away, Nene snaps that they're sweaty and need to change first. After changing, they meet at a diner. There, Aries hands each of them a notebook filled with notes outlining their weaknesses and specific ways to improve. He explains that he personally tailored each one, so their training plans differ depending on their needs. The girls are impressed by the level of detail, though Nene is bewildered by the massive stack of reading exercises assigned to her. The girls continue going through Aries' notes and notice that each of them has concrete goals meant to push them one step closer to their dream. Rika is surprised that she needs to sell at least 50 CDs during a live performance. Aries proudly explains that all of these goals are designed to build confidence. A brief silence follows until Rika asks Aries if he has ever played an instrument himself. He admits that he hasn't, so Rika points out that it takes a lot of courage to sing and perform in front of an audience. Aries insists that she should follow his plan anyway, arguing that live performance is something she must face. Rika then asks if Aries has ever been nervous before. Without hesitation, he replies that nervousness isn't part of his family. Rika stands up, cups his face, and calmly calls him a liar. To her, he's all talk, and she sees no reason to listen to his advice. With that, she quietly leaves the diner. Aries is left confused, prompting Nene to explain that he managed to make Rika angry. She adds that Rika is talented enough to write her own music, so being lectured by someone who lacks first-hand experience feels insulting. As the girls talk, they suddenly realize Aries is missing. In reality, he's crouched under the table, shaken by what Rika had said. After a moment, he starts laughing and pulls himself back up, declaring that the only way forward is to hear Rika perform. The following Wednesday after classes, Aries heads to the school courtyard. He's heard rumors that Rika holds weekly mini concerts there, drawing large crowds of female fans. As soon as the fans notice Aries, they immediately tell him to back off. He tries to explain that he's Rika's clubmate, but the crowd won't listen. Before things can escalate further, she looks out at the crowd and admits that she's nervous. Aries freezes in shock, since it's the exact same line Apollo used to say before she sang. As she begins playing an original song, Aries stares at her as she captivates both the crowd and him. In that moment, he's pulled back to the past, remembering the times Apollo would sing during her streams. Memories come flooding back. Those evenings spent listening to Apollo were some of the best moments of his life. As Rika continues to play, the idea that she might truly be Apollo suddenly feels very real. When Rika finishes her first song, Aries realizes that her similarity to Apollo is far stronger than that of the other girls. Eventually, Rika announces that she'll accept one final song request. As the girls excitedly shout out suggestions, she glances at her backpack filled with her original compositions, then briefly looks toward Aries. She can't help thinking how much she doesn't want Aries to hear her songs. After the concert ends, she bids her fans goodbye and walks over to him. With a teasing smile, she asks if his heart belongs to her now after hearing her perform. Aries immediately agrees and apologizes for doubting her. He tells her that her live performances are guaranteed to succeed. Rika's expression hardens, and she tells him that she doesn't have to listen to him, then walks off. Several days pass, and Rika starts to feel uneasy when she realizes she hasn't seen Aries around. She hears a commotion coming from the courtyard and rushes over. There, she sees Aries surrounded by girls trying to defend himself as they complain. When he notices her, he greets her and explains that he's performing. He tells her that he's been practicing to prove her wrong. Rika is left speechless by his explanation, but her attention is drawn to his hand, which is wrapped in bandages. Rika can't help but admire Aries' determination. She apologizes to the girls for forgetting to inform them that today's performance will be a duet with Aries. She then steps onto the stage beside him, leaving Aries visibly confused. Rika reassures him that he can play whatever he wants and that she'll support him. After the performance, Rika teasingly comments on how rough their concert was and asks if he finally felt nervous. Despite everything, Aries stubbornly refuses to admit it. Amused, Rika suddenly presses her ear to his chest. The move completely catches Aries off guard. Trapping him in place, she smirks when she hears his heart racing. On another day after classes, Nene leaves the club room ahead of everyone. Iko suggests that she's probably up to something shady. Aries reminds her about her goal of passing the language exam. Furious, Nene curses at him and slams the clubroom door. Aries suspects that Nene might be getting herself into trouble, but Shinobu calmly reassures him that she isn't doing anything wrong. Still unconvinced, Aries decides to follow Nene. He sees her enter an empty classroom and quietly approaches the door. He watches Nene reading the comic out loud. Her voice is surprisingly soft and sweet, but something about her delivery feels off. Unable to hold back, Aries slides the door open and bluntly tells her that her acting is terrible. He sees the cover and realizes it's a romance manga he's never heard of. Nene is shocked by his ignorance, loudly declaring that Knightly Love is the hottest comic around. She immediately launches into an enthusiastic explanation of the story, which is a forbidden romance between a knight and a princess. She describes her favorite scene where the princess hides her feelings by pretending to brush dirt from the knight's armor, secretly planting a kiss on his helmet when no one is watching. So absorbed in her explanation, Nene doesn't notice how close Aries has moved. At that moment, Aries notices an announcement printed on the comic's cover stating that auditions are being held for the anime adaptation. With her secret exposed, Nene insists that she needs to practice alone. Aries refuses, saying that her success is now part of his responsibility, so he has every reason to stay. When Nene still won't accept his help, Aries starts revealing his own embarrassing moments one after another, blushing as he speaks. He tells her that if she's going to be embarrassed, then he'll be embarrassed alongside her. Seeing how serious he is, she finally sits down and explains that she plans to audition. The problem is that she's never been in a relationship, so she has no idea how to act it out. When she accuses Aries of not taking her seriously, he calmly says that what she needs is experience. Without warning, Aries kneels on one knee, takes her hand, and asks her to be his girlfriend. Nene freezes, then immediately explodes in disbelief. Aries explains that he was simply acting out a line from the comic. He tells her to accept his confession so she can get used to acting like she's in a relationship before the auditions begin. Nene stubbornly refuses, but Aries presses on. He accuses her of not taking her dreams seriously if she isn't willing to act for just 3 weeks to prepare for the role. From the look on her face, Aries knows he's struck a nerve. The next day, the two of them arrive at school holding hands, instantly shocking the entire student body. Nene is visibly nervous, while Aries seems to be enjoying himself, even reciting lines straight from the comic. At one point, he pulls her closer and casually offers to carry her on his back. Nene's face burns red as she realizes that the final chapter of the comic includes a kiss between the two leads. She starts to wonder if Aries intends to act out the entire story. News of their relationship quickly reaches the broadcasting club. While they accept it on the surface, something feels off. As time passes, the club notices that Aries and Nene argue far more than they act affectionately. By the 19th day, it's clear they bicker constantly and don't resemble lovers at all. Shinobu believes this means the two have grown closer and more comfortable with each other. On the 20th day, Aries and Nene find themselves alone in the same empty classroom. The deadline is close and there's only the kissing scene left. At first, Nene worries about her chapped lips. Then her thoughts spiral and she starts to suspect that Aries went through all of this just to kiss her. She's on the verge of yelling at him until she notices Aries quietly studying the comic. In that moment, she realizes he truly wants to help her. Reluctantly, she admits to herself that he's actually a better actor than she is and that working with him has helped her improve. Bracing herself, Nene prepares her lips, fully expecting Aries to initiate the kiss. Instead, he calmly tells her to rest well for the audition. Caught off guard, she asks if they are going to practice the kiss scene. Aris answers that they won't and explains that she should only kiss someone she truly loves. Nene doesn't expect such thoughtfulness from him, and though it leaves her flustered, she chooses to hide it behind anger. She calls him an idiot and storms toward the door. Before she leaves, Aris softly wishes her good luck. Hesitating for just a moment, Nene admits that she had a little fun during the past 3 weeks. The following day, Nene announces that she didn't pass the audition. The news hits Aris so hard that he faints on the spot, overwhelmed after all the preparation they went through. Nene quickly adds that it isn't his fault. Aris apologizes for not being able to predict the outcome. The comic is held over his face to hide his regret. Watching him like that, Nene suddenly recalls her favorite scene. Deciding it's the perfect chance, she leans in and gently kisses the book covering his face. As she turns to leave, Aris grabs her hand and asks if she kissed him. Then, without hesitation, he bluntly asks if she's fallen for him. Enraged, Nene flips him over her shoulder and loudly declares that she hates him before storming out of the classroom. The outburst startles the broadcasting club members waiting outside. They rush in to find Aris on one knee. Shinobu calmly reassures him that Nene was clearly lying just now. The others smile knowingly, since Nene's ears had turned bright red when she left. While the girls are changing in the club room, they forget to lock the door. Aris opens it and sees them changing. He quickly scolds them for changing without locking the door, warning that if anyone else had entered, their reputations could have been ruined. Just as quickly, he apologizes for seeing something he shouldn't have. Everyone settles down and they proceed with the after-school announcements, with Rika taking over this time after Shinobu flubbed her lines earlier. Afterward, the girls decide they want something sweet and invite Aris to come with them, but he declines, saying he has something else to do. Once he leaves, Nene suggests they follow him to get even. Rika hesitates, admitting she doesn't really feel embarrassed about what happened, but Nene points out that it's because Rika was mostly hidden behind her. In the end, the girls agree out of curiosity about Aris's private life. Nene even gives their plan a dramatic name. They follow Aris out of school and onto a train. Nene tries to snap photos from another car, hoping to catch him doing something suspicious, but he's only reading a textbook. Eventually, they get off and see Aris enter a cafe. While Nene remains focused on uncovering something shady, the other girls are more interested in what they might order. When they enter the cafe, they quickly duck into a distant seat so Aris won't notice them. As Aris becomes busy with his work, the girls wonder why Aris needs a part-time job. They overhear Aris speaking with the manager and learn that he's been taking on extra shifts to earn more money to upgrade the broadcasting club's equipment. The manager expresses some concern, asking if he's sure he wants to spend so much on a club. Aris answers that he wants to invest in the 4 members. He explains that while they're still far from being professionals, each of them has a great voice. The girls listen closely as the cafe manager casually asks Aris if he's in love with them. Aris denies it, saying he only cares about them as fellow club members. Before the conversation can go any further, the girls suddenly announce that they're ready to order. Aris turns toward the voices while Nene steps closer. As Aris struggles to understand why they're there, Nene eagerly starts taking photos of him. Back at the table, the other girls decide that this is embarrassing enough to count as payback. The following day, Aris is already in the broadcast room. He worries that Apollo might use the photos as blackmail. He's startled when Iko suddenly enters the room far earlier than expected. Aris panics, wondering if Iko is here to threaten him. To his surprise, Iko explains that she just wants to show him something embarrassing of her own. She locks the door and slowly unzips her jacket, only to pull out her tablet. Aris sits down as Iko shows him her VTuber model. She asks if he can help her improve her streams. As they check her channel statistics, Aris notices that her recent streams haven't been getting many views. They scroll through the comments, most of which suggest that her content is getting boring. Aris bluntly tells her that they probably are, pointing out that her streams are usually very short and often consist of nothing more than greeting viewers. Iko immediately gets defensive, insisting that those are just her break-time streams. She explains that her regular content includes a variety and proudly adds that she designed her own VTuber model. Aris looks at her, unimpressed, and calmly tells her that he already knows since he watched all her streams. This makes Iko self-conscious as she calls him a stalker. Aris loudly protests, pointing out that she can't accuse him of that when everything she posts is publicly available. He then pulls up clips of her avatar and bluntly tells her that the real problem is that her model barely shows any emotion. Iko complains that he's being too loud, but Aris fires back, saying that her avatar feels lifeless. He explains that with current technology, even a 2D model can be animated with different expressions. Iko looks down and admits that she isn't good with that kind of technical work, and that commissioning someone to upgrade her VTuber model would be expensive. Aris starts to remind her that she already has someone reliable by her side, but Iko immediately reminds him that he is their errand boy. After recovering from the insult, Aris firmly tells her to leave all the technical work to him. Before she can thank him, he adds that Iko still has her own job to do as she needs to separate her avatar into different layers for him. The two of them dive straight into work. They spend days coordinating, tweaking settings, and even holding strategy meetings to prepare for the debut of her upgraded model. One afternoon, as Iko waits alone in the broadcast room, Aris suddenly slams the door open and announces that it's finally time to debut her new model. He proudly shows her the updated version of Ikon, but Iko is unable to see any difference. Aris explains that while the model looks the same, it can now copy her facial expressions using face tracking. He asks her to test it by laughing. Iko does, but her expression is subtle, and the avatar's laugh looks half-hearted. Aris tells her to exaggerate her emotions more, but Iko insists that she already is. Seeing her resistance, Aris explains that her fans are searching for a stronger emotional connection, and that means Ikon needs to show a wider range of expressions. Iko argues that she always smiles when she streams, but Aris bluntly tells her that her smile feels fake. Iko pulls her hood over her head and admits that she's just not good at showing her emotions. In response, Aris calmly locks the door, then suddenly starts tickling her, telling her to let her emotions out because no one wants to watch a streamer with a poker face. Iko finally manages to break free and whirls around, ready to scold Aris, only to freeze when she sees him wearing a pair of novelty glasses. She immediately turns away, covering her face as a small chuckle threatens to spill. Aris tries to coax her into facing him again, but in the process, they lose their balance and tumble to the floor. Aris ends up pinning her down and tells her that the smile she's making right now is exactly the expression her viewers want to see. Before he can say anything else, he hears Nene's voice coming from outside the window. When he looks over, he realizes it's a phone on a video call, awkwardly held up on a selfie stick. The girls had tried to enter the room, but found it locked. Seeing Aris and Iko on the floor together, Nene immediately panics and rushes back to start banging on the door. Aris instantly understands that explaining this situation will be a nightmare. Iko tries to explain what happened, but her explanation makes it sound like Aris was doing something seriously inappropriate. Without giving him a chance to defend himself, the girls decide to tie him up. Nene starts driving him toward the police station, but before they leave, Iko gives Aris a small, sincere smile, thanking him for all the work he's done for her. Aris returns the smile with a smirk and tells her that the true charm of a VTuber lies in being able to show who you really are behind the avatar. Iko's smile widens and she promises that she'll give her viewers a genuine smile in tomorrow's stream. Aris wishes her luck, and the other girls can't help but smile at the scene since it's strangely impressive how Aris still manages to look cool, even while tied up. The next day, excitement builds among viewers as word spreads about Ikon's new model. When the streaming finally starts, Ikon delivers her usual introduction, but fans in the chat seem confused, struggling to see any difference from her old model. Inside the broadcast room, Aris quietly scolds her, noting that she's even stiffer than usual. Iko nervously turns to him and admits that she's struggling. Still, since she's already live, she continues the stream, explaining to her viewers how much effort she put into creating and upgrading her avatar. As Aris watches her, he realizes the issue isn't that Iko can't express herself, it's that she can't do it in front of other people. As Iko's view count continues to drop, her expression grows more discouraged. Aris watches helplessly as she begs her remaining viewers to stay, explaining that she just needs a moment to adjust her model's settings. Seeing her like this, Aris starts to wonder if something traumatic might have happened in her past. Just as Iko begins saying goodbye to her viewers, Aris steps in front of her. When she looks up, she sees him holding a large white sketch pad with the word "smile" written on it. Iko panics. She's been trying to do exactly that, but the moment she looks at the screen, her face completely freezes. She squeezes her eyes shut, then opens them again when Aris taps the pad. This time, there's a new message asking if Iko wants him to help. Careful not to let her viewers hear, Iko mouths the words, "Help me." Aris smirks and suddenly moves behind her, then pauses the stream. Iko panics and immediately scolds him for stopping the broadcast. Aris calmly points out that her viewers were already leaving anyway. He tells her to look at herself first. When Iko does, she realizes she's sweating badly from nerves. Aris suggests she take off a few layers so she can relax. After tossing an insult his way, she reluctantly follows his advice. Aris sits down and teases her about the big promise she made. Iko pouts and admits she didn't realize she'd get this nervous. Still, Aris bluntly counters that if she were truly serious, she should have at least been able to smile. He goes even further, calling her VTubing career something she's just half-heartedly fooling around with. That's when Iko finally snaps. She shouts that he's a jerk and insists that she is serious about becoming a great VTuber someday. She argues that she does have emotions, she's just terrified of showing them. Aris coldly asks if she hates streaming and suggests that maybe she should just quit altogether. That question breaks her. Tears well up as she cries that she loves streaming and doesn't want to quit. Aris then asks what she loves about streaming. Without thinking, Iko answers with a shy smile. She says she loves interacting with her viewers. Before she can say anything more, Shinobu suddenly bursts into the room. She blurts out that the stream's audio was never muted, so everyone heard her. Hearing the earlier stream, Nene immediately realizes that Aris was behind everything. Convinced that she's about to be cancelled, Iko panics. When Iko looks, she's stunned as the chat is overflowing with comments and her viewer count has shot up to over 2,000 people. Shinobu gently tells her that she at least owes her viewers an explanation. Iko hesitates, overwhelmed by the sudden attention and nervous about speaking to so many people. That's when Aris reminds her of what he said the day before, then slightly corrects himself. He explains that sometimes a VTuber's appeal becomes even stronger when they accidentally reveal their true self. He encourages Iko to end the stream on a positive note. Taking a deep breath, Iko uses her model. She jokingly pretends to fire a forget-it beam at them. The sudden expression catches everyone by surprise. As she ends the stream with a shy, nervous smile, her fans begin getting excited over her new expressions. Later, while in the boys' restroom, Aris notices an invitation to Ikon's private stream. He tunes in and casually announces that he's watching from the toilet. Iko brushes off the comment but admits she wanted to thank him using her new model. Aris pretends to be clueless, but Iko tells him that she knows he angered her on purpose. Ikon's avatar mirrors her gentle smile as she promises to keep doing her best. Aris smiles back and tells her that while Ikon's smile is cute, it doesn't compare to Iko's real one. The compliment makes Ikon's avatar suddenly revert to a poker face. Behind the screen, Iko hurriedly covers her face to block the tracking. She struggles to calm herself down as heat rushes up her face. Shinobu spearheads a meeting for the school's very first sports festival since becoming co-ed. During the meeting, one of the male council members points out that the documents she handed out are littered with her selfies. Shinobu panics when she realizes she messed up. She lets out an embarrassed laugh and hurriedly asks everyone to keep the mistake a secret. The male council members simply stare at her with dreamy expressions, finding her flustered reaction oddly adorable. Throughout the day, Shinobu is constantly approached by students, each one needing her help with something. Despite already having too much on her plate, she continues to smile and accepts every request that comes her way. By sunset, she finally makes her way to the broadcast room, exhaustion clearly settling into her body. She knows she'll likely be busy until late in the evening. The broadcast club holds a meeting to discuss their responsibilities for the upcoming sports festival. When it comes time to assign tasks, Shinobu ends up volunteering for most of the work herself, since most of the members seem unwilling to take up some tasks. However, once they check out all their roles, they quickly realize just how much she's taken on and voice their concerns. Shinobu, however, insists that she can handle it all and claims that it's better this way. Aris then suggests that the club should host an event of their own during the festival. Some members immediately share ideas, while others admit they're not sure what they want to do yet. Shinobu volunteers to write everything down and handle the proposal as well. After the meeting, Rika reminds everyone to think about what kind of event they want to run. The group eventually agrees that karaoke would be fun to end the day, but Shinobu turns down the invitation, saying she'll be busy later. Rika offers to help her with her workload, but Shinobu gently refuses. In the end, the rest of the members decide to head home instead of going out, choosing not to go without her. Suddenly, Aris locks eyes with Shinobu, startling her. Without saying a word, he turns and darts away, only to return moments later with his bag. He tells Shinobu to follow him. He leads her to an empty staircase and corners her there. Lowering his voice, Aris asks her to promise to keep what he's about to do a secret. Shinobu grows nervous, half expecting that he might kiss her, but instead, Aris offers her a lozenge, pointing out that her voice doesn't sound the same. When she accepts it, he reminds her to keep it a secret. Lozenges count as candy, and he can't be caught bringing sweets to school since it's against the rules. Shinobu feels flattered that Aris noticed the change in her voice. However, the strange pressure settles and when he casually mentions that he's always watching and listening to her. Flustered, Shinobu slowly promises to keep herself behaving properly in front of him, which causes him to get suspicious. Aris's expression turns serious as he bluntly tells her that she's overworking herself. Shinobu easily admits that it's an old habit of hers to take on everything. She says she does it because she wants to be praised. Realizing how selfish that sounds, she immediately tries to take it back, but Aris has already processed her words. He tells her that she has this perfect image of herself that she wants to achieve. He acknowledges that it's a lofty goal and that the pressure she puts on herself must be overwhelming. Still, he assures her that she doesn't need to worry anymore because he's around now, and he'll draw everyone's attention to himself instead. Shinobu stares at him, stunned. His tone softens, becoming gentler as he reassures her that she doesn't have to do everything alone. She can rely on others and on him. He tells her she deserves a break and should allow herself to have fun every now and then. Aris turns to leave, but his words linger with Shinobu. Before he can get too far, she suddenly grabs his hand and asks him to have some fun with her. They end up in the library, where Shinobu instructs Aris to close his eyes. Though he obeys, unease settles in his chest. Just before Shinobu can place a piece of chocolate into his mouth, he catches a glimpse of it and quickly moves away because he nearly broke a rule. Shinobu smiles candidly, amused that she was caught. They settle into their seats, Shinobu's work spread out in front of them. She explains that she finds working and snacking oddly comforting. Aris looks at the sweets, amazed at how many snacks Shinobu managed to sneak into school, even though bringing them is technically forbidden. That apparently is why she brought him along as insurance. She tries to feed him a Pocky stick so he would be a fellow rebel, but he clenches his teeth, absolutely refusing to break the rules. Still, he reassures her that he won't tell a soul about this. He then asks why she chose to work and eat snacks in the library. Shinobu explains that she needs access to the copier, which makes Aris realize just how heavy her workload is. He offers to take 2/3 of it, insisting that he handle it himself since he's noticed she's a little sick. Shinobu smiles and calls him reliable, but Aris tells her she should just be honest and let the others help more. Though she looks like she is considering the suggestion, she refuses and says she's happy with how she handles things. She compares herself to a small strawberry chocolate, insisting that her role is to enhance the sweetness of other things. She goes on to tell Aris that she finds the other members of the broadcast club amazing. She admires how headstrong they are in pursuing their dreams, where talent means everything. Instead of chasing what she personally wants, she'd rather help them achieve what they want. Shinobu also mentions that the other girls tend to stir up trouble, so it's important for her to keep them in check. Unable to stop herself, Shinobu starts recounting all the problems the broadcast club faced during last year's sports festival. That's why she wants this year's festival to be a success, especially since she plans to quit the club by fall. The news catches Aris off guard. Shinobu explains that she needs better grades to enter a prestigious university. Most announcers come from top schools, so she needs to lay the groundwork now if she wants to succeed in the industry. Aris calms down after hearing her reasoning. He understands her logic, but still ends up exploding over her decision. He bluntly calls her weak, saying it's still possible for her to succeed and stay in the club. She weakly argues that aiming for too much might leave her with nothing in the end. Aris sighs, crouches down to her level, and asks who she sees in front of her. She answers flatly that he's just the errand boy, an answer that clearly doesn't impress him. He reminds her that he's here to help her. If she has problems with her grades, he'll help her study, along with anything else she might need. She can do whatever she wants because she will always have someone she can lean on. He offers his hand, reminding her that he already promised to lead her toward becoming a professional. She takes it and lets him pull her up. Aris admits that he can't stand the thought of her leaving and tells her that she should never sell herself short since she's just as charming as the other members of the broadcast club. Shinobu blushes at the compliment and eventually sits back down as Aris asks if she already has a plan for the sports festival. She admits that she does, so Aris offers to help draft her presentation. Shinobu shyly asks him to keep everything a secret from the girls. At first, Aris assumes she means the illegal snacking, but she clarifies that she doesn't want them to know about her plans to quit the club, her inferiority complex, or how he helped her find confidence again. Instead of answering, Aris responds by eating some of the snacks, effectively becoming her partner in crime. Shinobu giggles at the crumbs around his mouth, giddy over their shared secret. The next day, Shinobu presents her idea to the girls, calling it The Messenger. The girls are immediately on board, confident it will be a hit. They quickly begin discussing logistics and how to convince their advisor, while Shinobu and Aris exchange subtle gestures over their shared secret. On the day of the festival, everyone is shocked during the sprint when Aris manages to beat the athletes. Instead of stopping, he keeps running straight to the commentator's table and announces his own victory. Nene finally arrives, apologizing for running late. Soon they hear Rika's voice announcing the start of another event. Iko comes to pick her up since they're participating in the scavenger hunt. When they arrive, they spot Aris doing the commentary. Iko remarks that he somehow makes everything sound overly dramatic to the point of being embarrassing. Meanwhile, she and Rika pick up notes that describe what they need to get. To Aris' surprise, both girls rush up to him and insist that he follow them. Curious about what's written on their notes, he asks, but they refuse to answer and continue dragging him forward. Not wanting to lose either, Aris suddenly scoots both girls up, earning shocked reactions from the crowd as he dashes ahead at an incredible speed. Unfortunately, it still isn't enough. Iko and Rika try to find out what was written on each other's papers, but both decide it's too embarrassing to reveal. Aries rushes to the chariot event he's supposed to join with Shinobu. When he arrives, Shinobu is standing in front of two teammates who were injured earlier. Shinobu suggests sitting the event out, but Aries refuses to back down. Iko is handling the commentary for this event and quickly notices that Nene is acting as a horse for another team. Meanwhile, Aries and Shinobu enter as a two-person team, with Aries carrying Shinobu alone over his shoulder. Shinobu finds the situation deeply embarrassing, but Aries feels no shame since quitting is far worse for him. Iko settles for wishing everyone luck, deliberately avoiding comments about their strange formation or whether it even follows the rules. Nene's team is the first to target Shinobu's bandana. They bicker as Nene grows increasingly nervous. When she starts to hesitate, Aries feels concerned. But in the middle of it all, Shinobu's bandana gets taken. When Shinobu tells him, Aries drops to his knees in despair as Nene's team moves on to steal another bandana. Shinobu tries to comfort him, and Nene notices just how close the two of them have become. She scolds herself when she realizes she's starting to feel jealous. But she's so lost in thought that she almost forgets she still has to run to protect her rider. Eventually, there's an intermission before the next round of events, and the club retreats to their club room to rest. Despite their exhaustion, everyone feels relieved that they're doing well. Aries then brings up their own event, The Messenger. In the event, students can use string phones to relay messages to the broadcast club, which will then be announced anonymously. Aries thinks the idea would work just as well with written messages, but Shinobu insists that hearing the sender's voice is essential so they can properly convey the emotion when announcing it. She then reveals the flyers she's already prepared. Aries wonders why they don't just announce the event outright, but the girls immediately explain that the teachers would shut it down before it even starts. By spreading the word this way, it'll take time for the teachers to catch on. And by then, the event should already be popular enough that it won't be stopped. As a backup, Shinobu is spearheading the project, and her good reputation might help smooth things over. Shinobu smiles, admitting that this is something she's always wanted to do. She feels confident it'll become a memory worth cherishing. Just as they're about to start handing out flyers, Lemon, their club advisor, enters the club room, already aware of what they're planning. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe so you won't miss a new episode every week.